investigation, solving mysteries in the night. Chasing shadows, finding answers, shining bright light. No one's left behind, in the darkness all alone. With a heart like a siren, she brings the lost ones home. Silent cries in the dark no longer have to be, for justice wheels keep turning, Granny on the beat. Broken voices find their power, call out hope again. When these crime busters run, no victims left in vain. Bravery in her veins, truth she won't disguise. With a fire in her eyes, she's got nothing to deny. Granny fights for justice, never backs down from the call. For the voiceless and the missing, she'll stand tall. In a world full of shadows, she fights the unseen, a guardian of the truth in this wicked dream. Every story told brings her back to life. Granny's on the case, cutting through the lies. She guards the broken hearted from the world that hides. With unwavering spirit, she wears no disguise. Searching for the lost pieces of a shattered life. Granny brings the dawn after a longest night. Oh.
Hello, everybody. Come on in. Good to see everybody. Hello, Charity. Good to see you. My ginger girl. Hello. Cecilia, good to see you. Awesome. Have some new faces tonight. Brenda Jo, hello. Hope you're feeling better. Awesome. So, yeah, we continue our series on Sebastian, right? The little boy who just won't let go of our hearts, and we're not going to let go of his until he's home, right? That's right. No, there's a lot of garbage going on out there, right? And I'm just not going to have any part of it. They can go ahead and do what they want to do out there, but we're going to stick to our own here. We have been talking about the mistakes that have been made in the case, right? And basically the date, right? We don't know what's right or what's wrong. And actually, I did forget to go looking for that post. Ginger or Brenda, shoot me an email to remind me that I need to look for that post about TBI responding and saying that Sebastian was last seen on the 26th. Oh, okay, Cecilia. Well, welcome in. We appreciate you being here for as long as you can be. So I don't know. I didn't find that part, but we're going to continue on because we started talking last night, watching Jen Coffindaffer's video about Sebastian and the 3 possibilities of what could have happened to Sebastian. So, the first possibility she did talk about last night, right? And that was that Sebastian walked out the door. All of us here at Granny's Crime Buster do not believe that, do we? We said last night we don't believe he walked out the door. So now we're going to listen to the second part of it, number 2, and see what that one is, okay? So, can you guys see that okay?
After almost a year, I would say it's possible, extremely improbable. When you look at other cases of autistic teenagers, they are typically found in this age range. Yes, are there some outliers like Connor Jack Oswald? Sure, there are some outliers, but it's rare for us to be abutting against a year and no one to see him. No one. Again, unique gait, things
Absolutely,
he did when he was
Cecilia.
uncomfortable, disappearing purportedly in a black sweatshirt and sweatpants, no shoes. All of these people had shoes, by the way. All of them had shoes. None of them disappeared without their shoes on. So I just put this in the consideration of
Message me, Brenda.
Now, number 2, hypothesis number 2. He was abducted by someone other than family. Okay? He was abducted by someone other than family. This is something law enforcement is going to be considering. Why do I think?
Okay. So number 2 is that Sebastian was abducted by someone other than family. Okay. So we'll kind of listen to this and then we'll put our thoughts here, okay? All right.
That this is more probable than number 1. Well, it's more probable than number 1 because of several items. Number 1, the Amber Alert being issued by law enforcement. That's number 1. Number 2, the flashlight video. The flashlight video, which we've completely debunked as not being trash lights. As I said when I spoke about this before, I really challenge each of you. Please don't listen to me or listen to other creators or listen to
Hello, K9.
anyone.
Good to
Look
see
with
ya.
your own eyes. You can figure in what other people with law enforcement background have known or know, and you can, or have said, and then figure in what Nick Barris, who has his entire credibility on the line, when he talks about it and talks about person 1 and person 2 and their movement and shows that, consider all these things, but look at your own eyes or have your own eyes. It tells a story. And the story isn't somebody else taking out the trash because it's the wrong house that hypothesis was about. So you can clearly see where this is in the area outside of Sebastian Rogers' house in that clearing area. So take a look at that. You can see bushes obstruct some of the light and see what you think. And in terms of the 3 a.m., I just want to get down and dirty on that really quick. We know the counter was stopped. We know it was stopped from, I believe, 2 days earlier at about 3:11 a.m. That's when the counter stopped. But we know Nick Barris said it was at 3 a.m. I believe he gleaned that from his conversation with the homeowner who provided that video when they backtracked the garbage. Yes, I understand that Steve Fisher, who works for the Proudfoots, who's been paid at least $15,000, has said that that was somebody using a light to take out the trash, and that would only account for one of the two lights, and that he backtracked the time with the homeowner, and that supposedly it was more like 5 in the morning. Okay, so yes, we can consider what each person said, but as I said, consider motive, consider reputation, consider Nick Barris and him coming out and saying that 3 o'clock time frame. Consider what it looked like. Even though it was a waning gibbous, it was at about a 98% full moon. You can go back and look at this. It's very easy to research, which basically means there was light, but it doesn't mean it was fully lit up that night. So yes, there was some light, but it was not fully lit because there were no street lights. They don't have light pollution there. And according to Katie Proudfoot, if we're to believe her, all she had were her little solar lights in her garden, which if they're like my solar lights, which I have everywhere, that solar lasts about halfway through the night and then goes dim and gets dimmer and dimmer. No floodlights were on. There were 2 other lights that were on, according to Chris Proudfoot, because you recall in this interview, Katie answers the question, and then Chris says, "Wait a minute, Katie, you're forgetting these 2 lights on the side of the house that actually were on," which I always found very.
Oh, thank you, Cecilia. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And here I thank you.
Granny wants to thank you all for kindness in the chat. Super stickers, bright and grand, gifts of love we understand.
Memberships you gifted here spread the joy and banish fear. Every super thanks you send warms her heart and ends the end.
Granny cheers with love so true for each special thing you do. Thank you from her heart. You all play a major part.
Thank you. We love having you here. Oh, yes. She is something else, our little pup. Well, she's not really a pup, but yeah. She thinks she is. So, yeah, she's talking about the flashlight video. She even debunked what Steve Fisher said about it. She truly believes that that's evidence, right? I completely 100% agree with her on that. I'm glad you liked it. I was playing around with AI, and all I did was put in thank you for the super chat kind of thing, and it just made that whole song up. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. But it really did say what was in my heart. So yeah. But yes, so she did have to put out there. And then Steve has debunked, according to him, the latest photo going around as well. But that was more of a joke, I think. And yeah, that guy seriously needs to find another profession, in my opinion. He does not know what he's doing. And guys, there has been no update from Nick or Dog at all. anything that I have seen from that camp has been how they're looking for those terrorists that the president's looking for. And there's quite a bit of money involved there. So I don't know, guys. I don't know what's going on. It feels like there's something. Yeah, Dr. Schultz foot, really. Yep, exactly. But K9, unwittingly, was he saying that the proud feet did it? I'm just saying. Yeah, it is. It's kind of scary that they went quiet. Um, and is it me, you guys, or you guys are out there probably as much as I am. Is everybody acting weird out there? I mean, I think people are really acting. You thought it meant Proudfoot. um, but I don't know. People are acting weird. So for one thing, I changed. I'm just going to put this out here. I changed our time from 6:00 to 4:00 because there are other well-known creators that go on around the 6:00 hour, right, guys? And I didn't want them to think that I was trying to compete with them because that's not me. I don't compete. Castle, you agree? And welcome, Castle. Weirder. Yeah. Yeah. I was listening to part of it, Ginger. And I thought about playing it tonight, but I thought, no, we're going to continue on with what we've been doing. But it was amazing. It was awesome. Seth is on tonight as well. Interesting, because they're all saying he took off, whatever. But yeah, I think that they're acting very weird. But anyway, I changed my time from 6 to 4 because of that. Well, now it seems like everybody's been going on at 4. So I can't win for losing. We're just going to stay here, unless you guys feel differently, and see how the chips fall. I don't know. I'm not going to keep switching it back and forth. You know, it's crazy. Just so that you guys realize I'm not trying to compete with anybody. I'm just me. I am who I am, and nothing is done maliciously or with any kind of intention or anything like that. So if anything like that is said, you understand that that's not old granny here. And kick back for granny, right? Yeah, that's all right. I remember when we first went on K9, you ended up switching your dog walk so that you could be there for the 6:00 one because you used to be late all the time. That was funny. That's been a little while now, huh? That's crazy. Yeah, we'll have to see what that's about. I always like to listen to Seth, see what's going on. I don't know that the way that everybody is acting out there, I don't know what to think right now. I mean, both sides. And I hate to say sides, but there are. I mean, we're not on the side, I don't think. We're just kind of hanging out there and in the universe, right? I mean, we're on Sebastian's side, right? But yeah, both sides are acting very strange, guys. So I don't know. I don't know. So K9 said that since you're asking Castle, K9 said he's going to be on his YouTube channel tonight. But she didn't know what time. Oh, Nancy Grace has Seth on. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard that Nancy Grace was going to be on tonight. The podcast is always released earlier, and that is on Spotify, but it's not on video, guys. It's only audio. I was listening to it on another channel earlier. Yes, Sebastian's side. Right. Exactly. I honestly, with the way people are acting right now, I'm happy to be on Sebastian's side. I don't want to be on any side, guys. I'm happy just being out here all on my little own with all of my family, all of you people here, and we're just on Sebastian's side, and we'll keep it that way. All right, so let's continue on.
Interesting. But in the area where these two lights were, you can see it's extremely dark, extremely dark. So challenge you to take a look at that. And again, that's what points to there being some abduction. Plus, law enforcement said investigation has led us to upgrade this to an Amber Alert. Okay. Evidence point number 2 for it being, I'll call it stranger abduction. Some of these are going to meld into the third category, but lack of sightings. Lack of sightings of Sebastian Rogers indicate that he is not walking around somewhere, right? He hasn't been seen by anyone. This is Hendersonville. Almost everybody had a camera, except interestingly, the Proudfoots, even though she works for Brinks, I believe. I always found that interesting. Nevertheless, there is definitely zero footage. According to law enforcement, he hasn't been seen. And that, of course, would lead one to believe an abduction.
Yep, I completely agree with her. Between the flashlight video, because it looks very suspicious, 2 people, right, with flashlights, and there's a vehicle. And, we have to think that law enforcement had that video right away, guys. Okay? So, and they have the actual hard drive. All right? They have the actual hard drive. That is what that neighbor said. In fact, that neighbor took a copy of it, of what was on the hard drive, a video copy of it from her phone. Okay? So that is what everybody else is using. Okay? So it's not actual footage that people are using to enhance these photos and these videos. Okay? Now, Mob Crew has been very honest about the video he's working with. And he has stated it is difficult you can't start thinking you're seeing people walking or doing whatever because the light gets manipulated when you try to start messing with it. Okay? So, am I saying that those pictures going around of the video are wrong? No, I'm not saying that. They may be a stretch, They may be manipulated. But I don't know, right? So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know they're wrong when I don't know that, or that I know that they are what they're saying they are, because I don't know that either. And I don't know how anyone can really say that right now. Now, law enforcement has the actual footage. Are they able to, take the actual footage and maybe lighten it up or whatever to see something? Yes. But when you're taking copies of copies, that's difficult, guys. That's really difficult. So I just wanted to put that out there. The fact that Sebastian has not been seen. Remember, law enforcement has said there's no sightings. So the fact that Sebastian has not been seen leads to, us thinking he was abducted somehow, right? So we said that he didn't walk out the door. We didn't believe that, right? We just didn't believe that. But could he have been abducted by someone? I think he was. Could it be by someone other than the family? I don't know. Let's continue listening to what she has to say.
Because that means you've been abducted and you are gone out of sight from public. Lack of, again, sightings by humans. And then number 3, I had sightings by cameras, cell phones, anything else. Okay. All of those would lead one to believe he's been abducted, and that could be by a third party.
Bye-bye,
I call
Cecilia.
attention to the case of Michael Vaughn. Michael Vaughn, who went missing. Some of you may remember this case. It was several years ago. And no one could figure out what happened. He literally, in the middle of the day, went missing. His mother was working, I believe, at an Albertsons. His father was home. But he went down the street, apparently, and by all indications, and what law enforcement thinks, is he was abducted by the Wanderers, who lived a couple of doors, several doors down, and that he was murdered. Many of us have heard the confession-like tape of Mr. Wanderer, who basically blames everything on his wife. And they're both incarcerated for other reasons right now, I think, by law enforcement, tries to figure out what in the world happened. There are 2 other individuals that may have been involved in that also. But basically, we're talking about a child that was abducted, but by somebody that lived close proximity. So there's a vehicle that the mob crew, who has done a fantastic job on this case, trying to truly develop facts. And he has talked a lot about a vehicle. Now, this vehicle is associated with the neighborhood, meaning it's either, we don't know exactly, but comes in and out from time to time, whatever that means. In other words, they don't live there, but they're associated with other people in the neighborhood. So they're supposedly known to go there. Now, this is from Steve Fisher. So take that for what it's worth. Steve Fisher says he knows exactly who that car belongs to, but he does not want people.
It sure did, Castle.
What did he call it? He doesn't want people doxxed or otherwise followed, or I guess, I find that all interesting. But I don't know whether to really believe him or not. I don't know. But my understanding is that the vehicles that were in that neighborhood are associated with that neighborhood, because they have all the footage from the streets and from other cameras in the neighborhood. So what do I make of that car? We know there's an Uber car that's been excluded, but this car, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's important. I don't know if it's not, but I know it could be. I can't. All I have is Steve Fisher saying it's not important, and that isn't enough for me.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad what Steve Fisher is saying is not enough for her. I'm really glad about that. Oh my gosh. She really doesn't think much of him, does she? It's funny. But, think about it, guys. She is a former FBI agent. She did investigations. She knows what a good investigator is. And she knows what a bad investigator is, right? So, that speaks for itself. Yeah. Um yes, they were. And, the bad thing about the 5 CPS reports is that they can't be shown. At least not till this goes to trial, right? And even then, I don't know. I guess it would be shown, but um, they cannot be shown. The contents cannot be discussed because it's illegal. Because Sebastian's a minor, right? So they cannot discuss them. And so it's not like, Seth can hold them up and say, I have the receipts, but he can't show them. So, the people who want to say that those don't exist are just going to push at that, and they're not going to believe it. But those of us who believe that Seth is being real and being honest, know that he's not lying about that, right? Yeah. And there are people that don't like her, right? I know there are, but she's a professional, in my opinion. And so, um, who am I to trash her, right? Who do people think they are? Who do people think they are that they can trash a professional for their insight and their knowledge just because you don't you believe something different, right? It just blows my mind. Yes. And she may be retired, but she does still have connections. Ginger's right about that. Um, so, so as far as a stranger abduction, what do we have? We've got flashlight video, right? We've got the fact that Sebastian hasn't been seen anywhere else. Anywhere else. Like if he made it to town, because they live in the suburb. So if he made it to town by all the shops, they would have seen him somewhere on a stop sign camera or a stoplight camera or a building camera or going through the neighborhoods. Ring cameras and security cameras, guys. Not a nothing. Nothing. That doesn't happen nowadays. That doesn't happen. Hello, Teresa. Good to see you. All right, let's continue on.
Nevertheless, we also have to consider the final theory, right? Either A, he walked away. We went over possibilities on that possibilities of proof. I think we pretty much said that's going to be very unlikely, possible, but improbable based on the flashlight video, lack of sightings, lack of camera footage. So that it would seem, and of course, the most important piece, which is the Amber Alert. So let's move on to number 3, the last one. Number 3, and that is Sebastian Rogers was killed in the home or taken and killed later by someone associated with the home.
Ouch. I didn't expect her to say that. I guess I remember her saying it, but wow. Okay. So Sebastian was, I guess I can write it, but I can't. Or taken. How did she say that? Taken by someone associated with the home. In other words, familial. But before we get any farther, I want your take on number 2. Sebastian was abducted by someone other than family. What are your thoughts, guys? Let me know what you're thinking on that. Hello, Dreaming. Good to see you. No, Jen isn't holding back. So tell me, what are your thoughts? K9 says, nope, he wasn't abducted by someone other than family. That's what I want to know. Number 2, guys, what is the Crime Busters family's thoughts on whether number 2 is what happened to Sebastian? Don't believe he was taken by someone, a stranger abduction? Put a 1 in chat if you think he was taken by a stranger, a 2 in chat if you don't think he was taken by a stranger. And now everybody's answering. 1 if you think he was taken by a stranger, 2 if you don't think that's true. So Ginger says 2, that's not true. Not believable. Gotcha. Well, I think she was just talking about the possibilities of what could have happened to Sebastian. And that there were really only 3 possibilities. But nobody believes that he was taken by anybody other than family. All right. So we're going to put GCB doesn't believe it. Just like up here. GCB doesn't believe that he walked out the door. Okay. Interesting, guys. That's what we're coming to, right? We're coming to the final answer here.
Okay. What do we have that would point us in the direction of the parents being involved in either an abduction and kidnapping, murder, sequestration, gone, or abduction and murder, or murder and then moving the body? Okay, what do we have? Basically, to me, they're all sort of one and the same, other than one would mean Sebastian could possibly be someplace and be kept alive, and the other would mean he's gone, right? That none of us ever want to think about. But I just want to quickly go over option 3 and what evidence we have of that. So, of course, we have everything from option 2.
So that's right. Kind of option 3 has almost 2 different scenarios, doesn't it? So either he was red rummed in the home, or he was taken by someone in the home and moved somewhere. Right, you do have to look at everything, right? And that's what we're trying to do. So really the third possibility kind of does have 2 possibilities in itself, doesn't it? You could almost break that down saying, okay, he was red rummed in the home and then taken somewhere. Or he was just taken somewhere. Right? So let's do this before we have her give us her thoughts on this. Put a 1 in the chat if you believed he was red rummed in the home and taken somewhere. Put a 2 in the chat if you think he was taken somewhere. Put a 1 in the chat if you think he was red rummed and taken somewhere, or a 2 in the chat if you just think they took him somewhere. Ginger says they took him somewhere. K9 thinks he's gone. Brenda thinks they took him somewhere. It's interesting, guys. Everyone has their own opinion. That's okay. Anyone else want to tell us what you think? So that's interesting. That's interesting. If I had to say, I can't say that's what I'm thinking. One, because you want to be hopeful. One would be that he was, I think if you wanted to be hopeful, it'd be 2, dreaming of blue skies. One was that he was red rummed and taken somewhere. 2 is that they just took him somewhere. In other words, he's still alive. Number 2. Number 1, you don't believe he's alive anymore. Basically. That's all right. I could have put it in a poll, made it more clear, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not going to say that I want to think that I'm not trying to think the best of KP. But I guess I want to think the best that he's still alive, that he's still out there somewhere, even though I know that we're going on a year now and it's a little bit scary. But we did hear Jennifer talk about there were 3 cases last night. 2 of them were found later. One 3 years later and still alive. I mean, both were found, 2 of them were found alive. One was found deceased. But, you know, the difference is, though, they all had shoes on. And from what we know, Sebastian didn't have shoes on. That's what makes me think that someone carried him out the door and they forgot about the shoes. You know, that goes with the over medication theory, I don't know. It could go to a lot of theories, couldn't it? It could go with the red rum theory. It could go with giving him sleeping medication to knock him out while they take him. I mean, there's many different possibilities there, right? So he didn't walk out. We know that. He had to have been carried out. And that's why people are going with that photo, right? Now, do I think that what people are seeing in that photo happened? Yes, I do. I think he was carried out of the home. Right? I really do think he was carried out because there was no scent and they forgot the shoes. And I think that was a mistake. I think that was a mistake. One of the many mistakes in this case. You truly want to believe he's still with us, but it's hard. Yeah, I get it. Exactly. The cadaver dogs didn't get a scent in the home. So he wasn't red rummed in the home. That's a good point, Ginger. K9, I thought I saw on one of the interviews that they did have cadaver dogs in the home. But I couldn't tell you which interview it was. We watched so many, and I would have had to take notes at each one, and I didn't. Oh, gosh. All right, let's continue.
Right? We have, oh, let me get this up here, Southern Girl. Hopefully I got that up in time. Oh, I didn't. I'm sorry. Thank you for the that $1.99. I really appreciate it. But not to digress here. Option number 3, again, either an accidental death of Sebastian Rogers, in other words, medication, fell, hit his head, thump, or somehow accidentally died in that home and then was taken away, or abducted and hurt later.
Okay, I've seen this before. Dreaming of Blue Skies. Yes. In the beginning, when law enforcement were doing the searches, the dogs did get to go inside the house. And I think it was Craddock who said, or maybe it was that other guy that's in charge of the searches, said that they had both types go through the house. Okay. Now, what you're thinking of is later on when Seth had his PIs, Chloe and Heather. Okay. Lacey, you behave yourself. Sorry, guys. She's trying to scratch up the carpet. So when Seth had his PIs, he wanted, a dog handler fully licensed to go through with her dogs. And Chris said no at that point because it wasn't law enforcement. He just said no. I'm not even going to try to defend or whatever with him. I don't know. But he said no at that point. But he did allow law enforcement in the beginning to go through with both dogs. Right, K9? That's what I said. Even if we took notes, how many books would we have by now, right? What, I can take buku notes, but then try to go back through my notes to find out what I'm looking for. It does me no good. I'm not a note organizer. Yes, thermal imaging and multiple dogs. The only thing they did not use was luminol. The EMA man. Yes. Yes. No, she's not. She's being naughty. She does that just like a 2-year-old when see, even Brenda said, little Miss Wild Child. And she does. She has done that with Brenda's carpet downstairs, which pulls up more stuff than it does in this carpet up here. But I still don't let her do it. Yeah. The only thing that I was thinking is that it could have been an accident, like Jen was just talking about. His medication. We found out last night, right? His medication caused dizziness. Okay. He could have fallen out of bed and hit that spot on his head. That makes them not culpable unless, except for the fact that she didn't check him. Right? So when did she check him? If that's the case, right? Yes, she's missing you, Brenda. She knows I'm talking about you too. Okay.
We have to consider this. Law enforcement is considering it. Everyone is considering this, right? There's only 3 options to consider, and the one I'm not considering, despite the fact that UFOs are being talked about constantly in the news, is that a UFO took him. That's the only one I actually will not consider. But these 3, we have to strongly consider. I say that tongue in cheek because.
Oh, guys, please don't tell me you think a UFO took him. Good question, K9. Maybe because of the 5 CP. Oh, I'm getting hiccups. That's awful. Maybe because of the 5 CPS reports. Running scared, and she didn't check on him right away. That's my thought. Hello, Jackie O. I'm glad you came out of the bushes. We're always happy to see you. All right, I'm going to mute myself while we listen to this because I've got the hiccups. Let's see if I can get rid of them real quickly.
Believe me, you wouldn't believe some of the DMs I get. I'm putting that on the table. I don't believe that. So, flashlight video, lack of sightings, lack of camera sightings, and now I'm going to add in some things that could point to him being hurt in the house or abducted and hurt later or kept later. 1, the landfill search. Law enforcement had to have probable cause to put together an affidavit to go on private property and conduct a landfill search, which is, I know they said that they just did it perfunctory, but in my belief, I've never seen anything like that. You have to have probable cause, which, yes, it's one of the lowest forms. It's actually not the lowest form. Reasonable suspicion can result in you being able to detain somebody for a short amount of time. We use reasonable suspicion, and then beyond that, which is usually a much higher standard, is probable cause. I say it's a much higher standard because the law enforcement officer has to write an affidavit to support their position. They have to work in conjunction with the district attorney who supports the position, and then they have to hold up their hand and swear with their credentials behind them, doing the right thing under penalty of perjury, that they're telling the truth before a judge, that they believe these facts would lead them to believe that either Sebastian Rogers or proof that something happened to Sebastian Rogers was in that landfill. Okay, so we have that to consider. And I should say that that also could go with the objection by a third party. I'm going to call it, instead of a stranger, because I don't think it was a stranger, but could it have been somebody he met online, somebody from school, somebody that somehow he intersected with that lured him out of that house? So that's number 2, third party culprit. Called a third party culprit, not a stranger, third party culprit. But now we're on to number 3 again, which is basically somebody within that house, within his family. Okay, so again, we have to do the landfill. Now let's add on to this. Motive. Is there motive? Right? So when we consider the case of Bradley Close, Marcus Tessier, and Connor Jack Oswald, no motive. You know, family situation, from everything I've read, wasn't at issue. The motive situation wasn't there. In this situation, we have to at least consider motive. To me, the number one motive would be the fact that Sebastian Rogers was not wanted in that house. And I say that because Chris Proudfoot was trying to get custody of his daughter. And he did not want Sebastian Rogers around his daughter. Period. That has been made clear. He says that. When I saw his interview, they say, or he says voluntarily, I'm not going to go into why. I'm not going to go into why. But Seth Rogers was purportedly going to take him. Remember, Seth was trying to get custody of him, he had custody, it was joint custody, but trying to have him live with them. So why would you need to cause harm to Sebastian Rogers when you know you're working toward him living with the father? There's no reason to do anything, to abduct him or to do anything if you know he's going there, right? So, but you complicate that with issues in custody battles that personally I've seen over and over again. Literally, people would rather, and I'm sorry, I don't think I got that one up there either. Many parents, quite frankly, oh, I'm so sorry, would rather see, having trouble putting these up here, I'm sorry, would rather see anything happen other than their ex-spouse getting their child. It's really something. They would rather kill the child. They would rather run off to Mexico with the child. They would rather face kidnapping charges. This is something that happens all the time. The FBI is the main agency responsible for parental kidnappings. Kidnapping puts it right in the venue of the FBI. So, just dealt with this a lot. So that's all to say nothing surprises me. So even though it's makes a lot of sense to me that Sebastian was going to live with his father, which doesn't really mean that there would need to be a reason to hurt Sebastian at that time. It happens.
Wow. So even though it doesn't seem to be a reason for them to hurt Sebastian at that time, it does happen. Scary, guys. That is really scary. I do agree with what she said about they didn't want Sebastian there anymore. It came out, right, that they were trying to get rid of him. Right? And so they were trying to put him in a home, all this other stuff. And this is my opinion, guys. But because of the date issues, the 26th being the date that Katie filed for divorce, like the 26th means something to her. I honestly feel as though she did not want Seth to have Sebastian. And I think it's because she didn't want, how do I say this? Seth to be capable of something that she was not able to do, which was to take care of Sebastian the way he needed to be taken care of. I mean, Seth said that the minute that she filed divorce papers, she went and put Sebastian on medication. Right? I'm not saying that's good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying that not every parent, evidently, Seth didn't feel his child needed to be on medication. Right? Could he have been wrong? Of course he could have been wrong. Right? Could Katie have been right? Of course. Right? But not every parent feels that their child is better off with medication. I was one of them. I didn't want my child's personality to change. Ginger said the same thing. Right? I mean, so we have to kind of look at that, I think, right? It's part of what could be motive. It could be motive. She didn't want Seth to have him. So what did she do? That's the question. That's the real question. Or what did they do? Because number one, we don't believe that Sebastian walked out the door. Number two, none of us believe that he was taken by a stranger or a third party or anything, any such thing, right? None of us believe that. So we all believe it was familial, right? Meaning Katie and or whomever, right? Because she was the last one to see him. So what did she do? Was there an accident and they were scared because of the CPS reports hanging over their heads? Could very well be, guys. That could be an answer. Okay? Stupid answer, because no matter what you've got hanging over your heads, you should always tell the truth. Get you in less trouble in the long run. Because think about it. Think about what's going to happen after, if they did something to Sebastian and they finally find Sebastian And all this time and money and resources have been spent on this case. Judge and jury is not going to take that lightly, right? So you don't, Ginger says, I don't think it was a spur of the moment thing. It was well planned out. Gotcha. Okay. Could very well be. So if it was planned out on the 26th, like Katie has something with that date, right? Is Katie instrumental in getting the date changed from the 25th to the 26th? It's very hard to have any patience with this case. I just wish Ellie would take them and interrogate them hard, really put the pressure on them in separate rooms. Well, Jack, we know that can't happen because Katie has pled the fifth. They can't make her talk to them. They can't interrogate her. And I would be willing to bet that even though it's not public knowledge that Chris has pleaded the fifth, I would be willing to bet he's pled the fifth now too. Could be wrong. But either way, they can't with Katie. It's too late. She's pled the fifth, and so she's not going to talk. Maybe that is why she keeps saying after midnight. Could very well be. And she might have been instrumental in getting those dates changed, guys, to the 26th. Yeah. Yeah, so there won't be any interrogations now. They can't. So now what they've got to do, I mean, think about it, guys. Think about it. If Sebastian is gone, and I don't like to go here, I don't, because I'm still believing he's alive. I'm hoping that they put him with somebody that's taking good care of him. That's my prayer, my hope and my prayer. But if Sebastian is gone, now they've got to find him. They have got to find him because Chris and Katie have shut up. So they've got to find evidence, solid, substantial evidence, not a grainy picture, guys. That's not solid evidence. Okay. They have to have solid evidence to bring charges against them. It's a little bit more difficult. You know, and we have, hi, Charity. We have talked about that before. I can't think of any reason why someone would need to plead the fifth unless they're guilty of something. Why would you need to? Unless you're guilty of something. You know, those two have only hurt themselves from the beginning of this case. You got Chris's anger, right? You've got their misstatements and their lies, adding things after the fact. What was it, 3 interviews before she even mentioned that Sebastian made a noise around 10 o'clock? Your kid is supposedly a runaway. Yeah. I can't believe he walked out that door. I don't know why he walked out that door, I think is what she said. And then you plead the fifth. Why? Why? If someone can give me an honest, good answer about that, I will take back anything I've ever said about Katie. I don't think that answer exists, guys. So the last thing At Night says was they linked the Proudfoots to the infiltration. I don't know, Ginger. Oh, goodness sakes. K9. I keep saying it took 10 years to gather the players in Dan Markel's case. Oh, gosh. Please don't tell me 10 years from now I'm going to still be talking about Sebastian Rogers every single night. I'll be 76. Oh my gosh. Something is wrong with someone if they plead the fifth when your child is missing. My opinion. Yeah. What could be more important than finding your child, right? I agree, Jackie O. The year has been too long. The year has been too long. Ask Seth. I'm sure he will tell you the same thing. A year without your child is too long, guys. It's too long. Yeah. Let's finish this one up.
The other thing is, and this falls in line a bit with motive, I think, and that is past behavior toward a child. It's very rare for an individual who has never had any intersection with child protective services or with any complaints of mistreatment, even whether it went all the way to CPS or was just reported at a school or reported by a friend or was witnessed or seen in some way by somebody. Typically, there's something. It doesn't immediately go from straight to an abduction or straight to a homicide, for heaven's sakes. A lot of times there's steps in between when it comes to abuse of a child. And I've been over it a lot. I've been over at least the 2 belt beatings. We've talked about other information that is out there regarding how he was treated by Chris Proudfoot, meaning Sebastian. So we know that there is information of not being treated correctly by Chris Proudfoot. So that's something, all I'm saying is we would have to consider. In other words, if this does turn out to be foul play, and if there were ever charges brought, all of this would come forward as evidence to support that. Everything to do with the motive and the background circumstantially regarding the treatment of Sebastian Rogers. So again, this is evidence going toward if this would end up to be the case.
Interesting, guys. That could all be evidence.
What other evidence is there? Well, they would take all these statements that have been made by Katie and Chris Proudfoot that have had incongruencies where something is said and then it's said differently, or it's not said and then all of a sudden it's said. That's a problem. That's a real problem.
What were we just talking about, guys? Wait a minute. Let me think about that here a second, right? What were we just talking about? Did I just not say about their lies, about not saying something and then all of a sudden saying something, bringing something up? All these incongruencies are going to be a problem. Are you beginning to understand now why they pled the fifth, guys? You know, here's my thought. How do people, I know that there are people out there who don't agree, right, with blaming families of missing children. But when something is staring you dead in the face, how can you not see that? Is it because, I mean, come on, do any of us want to be mean to any of the parents in a situation like that? I don't know of anybody, especially any of you in here, my crime busting family. None of you. You've all got good hearts. Every one of you. I've seen it in your posts. You've got good hearts. None of you would ever want to just hatefully say something against one of the parents or believe that one of the parents could be guilty of something, right? Unless something is staring you in the face. Exactly. Exactly, Canine. It's probably a good thing they went quiet for their own sakes. They weren't doing themselves any favors. And Chris made it worse when he went on Elevated Truth and he got all worried about his doggone truck. He did. But he's been quiet again. See, sometimes I think he just can't help himself, guys. And I think that's. Think about it. It was one of his people that was saying things about him. He was going off the rails. He was not a happy camper. Right? You know, Jennifer knows what they look for in these cases. Your truck, your truck, your truck, your truck, Chris. I said it 3 times. Want me to say it again? Your truck, Chris. Literally thousands of people all think certain individuals are guilty. We can't all be wrong. I agree. Right? And I'm not here to bash Chris or Katie. I'm not. I think on some small level, I can't help but think that Katie has got to feel horrible. She's his mother. There's got to be some small little emotional piece of her that misses her son, no matter what happened to him. But that's a mother's heart saying that. So I don't know.
So does it mean that they've done something? No. But what it means is if they have something, that is evidence that's going to be used against them. Anything they said where they contradicted themselves would then be used. You betcha that they will be combing through that law enforcement is now combing through that, all their different statements to show contradictory statements from what they've said. I mentioned already Chris Proudfoot saying we would have heard something. I already mentioned that one. But they would be looking at so much more. One of the things that stuck out to me, and it doesn't necessarily, again, we're just going over possibilities and what the evidence would be, but it is unusual for parents who have a missing child not to immediately go to mainstream media, not to reach out to their local affiliates, and quite frankly, their local affiliates reaching out to them and them responding, right? So it's very typical for that to be one of the first things you do. One of the first things you do is you want to go out and you need to say, hey, listen, my child is missing. I'm begging you to put his face and name out there so that he can be seen. I've talked about the Petito Schmidt.
So, in all reality, on this one, instead, right at the beginning, when they were still searching that first week, Craddock on the newscast said, the family has asked me to say that they're not in a position to talk right now. So the news media isn't going to bug them anymore because law enforcement just said they're not going to talk to you. Right? So who did they end up going to, guys? And don't get me wrong. I love our YouTube community. I love what we're trying to do here and bringing awareness. But we should not be the be-all, end-all of the mainstream media for a missing child. We can help get awareness out there and get it out there pretty quickly, right? But mainstream media is where it needs to be in the beginning to get it out across the United States and other countries as quickly as possible. But Chris did not want this out there. And you have to ask yourself why. Why? I mean, he had to let law enforcement in his house, but boy, he didn't want anybody else anywhere near his house, did he? Think about it. Who's been the one that has been out there on Nancy Grace and hasn't quit, and on the other media channels along with YouTube? Seth has. All right.
Minutes before, that's the first thing they did. They went straight to the media, mainstream media, because they wanted his face and name out there. So that is a typical response of what you see. I've always found it interesting that wasn't the response of the Proudfoots. Doesn't mean they're guilty, no, but it's just another something that if they were ever found responsible, this is certainly something that would be brought up in court. It just would. I believe, as a case agent, you when you're the summary witness at the end, sort of summarizing the whole entirety of the case, you bring in all these little details, and you would say, based on your training and experience, this is something that is unusual in your normal, what you normally see. So you can bet that that would probably come in because it is unusual. Let me see. I've already talked about the misstatements. So in looking at this, those are the three options. Those are the three options. Have I completely ruled out option one? No, I haven't completely ruled it out. With what we have, it's very hard to completely rule that one out because it is possible that somehow they have a sighting, but it doesn't look that way.
I don't know about you guys, but I've completely ruled it out. They haven't shown us that they have a sighting. Right? I just don't believe it. I just don't.
Where I think we're really leaning toward is this is a third-party culprit abduction, or this is a family abduction and or murder of Sebastian Rogers. I'm really, so possible that he walked away? Yes, let's keep that as a possibility. But probabilities to me are moving toward a third-party culprit abduction or the parents. Now, many of you may ask, Jennifer, you haven't even mentioned Seth. You know, why are you not mentioning Seth? This is why I'm not mentioning Seth. And that is because you have to have means and opportunity. And in this case, the means and opportunity falls on the Proudfoots. And I say that because Katie Proudfoot was the one that was there. We know Seth Rogers was not there. Chris Proudfoot, we don't know where he was. We don't know where. We have the receipts on Seth. So for this reason, I don't think he had the means and opportunity. And I also don't think Seth Rogers had the motive. He was supposed to be getting his son. I don't think he had the motive. I think Seth Rogers loves his son from everything I've seen. I understand for those of you who might be saying, but Jen, have you read that there was a report made on him and that he hurt Sebastian? I'm aware of that. Who lodged that report? Katie Proudfoot. It's just a little bit harder for me to give it the weight that 5 CPS reports and Chris Proudfoot's own admissions about, in Tennessee, what would be considered child abuse and endangerment by hitting an autistic, and it's because he's autistic, child with a belt. You can't use a weapon. A belt is a weapon for punishment. Look at the statute. So it's these factors that I think need to be considered. I just wanted you to know why I haven't gone in that direction. And it took me a long time to really look at all of that. If you look back, you know, initially I said, if he ran away, why didn't he run away to Seth? You know, why didn't he run away to Seth? But I don't think he ran away, most likely. I think he was abducted either by somebody who's a third party who we have no idea what that motive would be. That's where we get into trouble. What's the motive? Was it just to take advantage of him? What's the motive that sticks out? And believe me, I know that could happen. It's possible. But I don't know who has that motive. I know about the motive that I believe could exist with the Proudfoots. The other piece that I'm going to put up here as interesting, and that as a summary agent on the stand, I would certainly bring up. And that is this whole last day that Sebastian Rogers went missing on the 25th. This unusual day of mom is making pancakes. Mom is taking him on a great, fun day, a fun day, and then to the steakhouse. It is a little
There's your
odd.
planning,
If it
Ginger.
ended up being them, I would just say this looked like it lined up to the last time I was going to be with my son. I say that not because I think that that is what happened. I say that because I think it's a possibility that you have to consider. And as law enforcement, you're considering all possibilities. So the last time I'll go over it because I don't want to be redundant and I've kept you all way too long. Number one, he walked off on his own. I gave all the reasons that that could have happened. I think it's a possibility, although on the very low end. Number two, third-party abduction. I'm going to combine that with abduction / homicide / I should have mentioned this, accidental death and cover-up by individuals in the home. So those all fall into much more probable. We have not heard from law enforcement in months, since April, other than to say Green Hoodie wasn't involved. We haven't heard from them. If you look at news reports, when it came, like his birthday report from the media, they're just taking coverage from Craddock, who's the chief now. They're taking coverage from a long time ago, his statements. We don't know what law enforcement is.
Haven't I said that, guys? That the recent newscasts, they're taking coverage from a long time ago. Right?
Thinking since the first part of April. May, June, July, we had months and months and months of investigation, of looking over reports, of trying to understand what happened during that time frame, meaning law enforcement's had all of that. So when you think about that, everyone, where are they leaning? I think they're leaning toward 2 or 3. They're leaning toward 2 or 3. That's what I believe. And maybe for a little while. But we have to take them at their word. In April, they said, no signs of foul play, but no one's off the hook. Whatever that means. It's a normal cop speech. Everyone, thank you so much for coming in and tuning in. I feel like I've talked way too long. I really appreciate this. Is a $5 super chat. Is Rogers Homestead of Family Values really looking for groomers? I don't know about that. For me, if it ends up that the Proudfoots are involved, that's a big if, but if it ends up that way, it's going to be a simple fact of likely something happening and then cover up. And then, here we are. I'm not saying that happened. I'm just saying it's a possibility. Let me get to this last one from Jack's Wolf, $5. Jennifer, talk about the coincidence in the February 26th date. Oh, yes, the motive. Very true. If this ended up being on the Proudfoot's hands, if they end up being at all involved in this,
She turns it around.
there is a huge coincidence with the date of the abduction disappearance of Sebastian Rogers. And that is the divorce occurring between Seth and Katie. So if I were on the stand, and again, I'm putting together all the Lego blocks of everything. And again, you would have to have much more proof than this. This would just be showing motive and things for the timing. I would say This was not at all coincidental. This was very much planned for this particular date because it's in your face.
Okay. So, a lot of good stuff there. No Nancy Grace video tonight. It will air sometime next week. Technical difficulties. Yeah, well, we knew one whole side was going to start contacting Nancy's people, right? Really sad, really sad. And they pulled the Spotify as well. Hello, Reach for the Sky. Exactly, Jackie O. You wouldn't, if your child was missing, you go to your local news first, right? And then be asking them, is there a way you can get this out to the other national news channels, right? I mean, it's crazy. You saw some bad posts. Oh gosh. Well, guys, all we can do, it's those of us who are sitting here and are not ingrained in the sides. We need to sit back, watch, and pray. Honestly, guys, because it's going off the rails. It's going off the rails, and we just need to step back, not get involved in it, because you don't want to go there. Trust me, you don't want to go there. And be careful what you're saying in chats, because they are, honestly, guys, I've seen it happen. I've seen it. They are copying chats. They're going through the chats on their own lives, and they're sending them to their lawyers. Okay? So please be careful about what you're saying in other chats. Okay? Here, I don't let you say anything that's going to hurt you. Right? My mods and I watch that very closely. And it's not because I don't want people to share their thoughts and opinions, because I do. I do. I don't want a bunch of yes people in here, right? I want everybody to be able to freely share their opinions. But I don't want any of your opinions to be used as fodder for somebody's stupid, idiotic legal case, right? So, because I care about you guys, I don't want that to happen. I watch myself and what I say, and we take care of our chat, and we take care of you guys. So everything that Jen was saying about motive, means, and opportunity, sometimes I wish, but it wouldn't matter. I was gonna say, I wish people would listen, one side would listen to what she's saying, but they wouldn't believe her anyway, so it doesn't matter. People are going to believe what they want to believe, right? You can't change somebody's mind unless they want it to change. Yeah. I don't even say hello anymore, Canine. I just watch in the bushes because I don't feel a need to be liked. I mean, I am who I am. I don't feel a need to be liked by other creators. If they want to come here and, then I'll support them. Yeah, but I'm just, you know, I think it's better for me to just be on my own for a little while, because too many people get involved and drawn in, and I don't want to be drawn in to a side, right? I want to be neutral. I want to be on Sebastian's side, not on anybody else's. Doesn't mean that my thoughts don't lean in a direction, right? They do. You guys know that. But right now, it's crazy out there, and I just like to keep my own crazy here. I know, right? Yeah. Bite your tongue, because boy, if you say something, you could be in trouble. Yeah. Yeah. Um well, I like to listen to everybody. Um Not all the time. If I see a thumbnail that I think looks interesting, may have some information about a case I'm looking at, mainly Sebastian lately, I'll go in. I don't, I, I don't hate anybody, right? Everybody has a right to their own opinion. Um, but, yeah, I just, but I listen in the bushes. I just do. I recognize a lot of people don't like that, but let's face it, there are some people in the bushes right now that aren't chatting. That's okay. I don't know why that's meant to be such a bad thing. Some people just don't like to chat, right? Some people don't. And that's all right. That's all right. Yep. And they're using the comments. The bushes are safe and cozy. They really are. You can actually glean quite a bit, right? You can glean quite a bit from just staying in the bushes and listening. You're like, oh, okay. Sometimes I'll be honest with you. I'll be in something and I'll be like, oh, I so want to say something. I think it's time for me to go. Because, yeah, when I saw, guys, I actually saw this. A creator had saved, I'm trying to remember which one it was. I don't remember which one it was, but from the time that the live started until the time that it ended, they saved and copied the entire live chat. So they had the time, they had the name of the person and their little icon and what they said in a spreadsheet, different columns, the time, their little icon, their name, and in another column, what they said. And they were going through the whole thing. They were just picking out certain people, right? But yeah, I watched it. So that's scary. Not only that, it's uncalled for. People come into your lives to I mean, what kind of content is that, guys? Would you come in here if I was showing you somebody's live, somebody that you thought I couldn't stand or something or had a problem with, and then I was watching to see who was chatting in their chat, and I saved it all, and I was really, would you guys be in here? I don't think so, because you guys know that I would never do such a thing. You guys know I'm not about that kind of drama. And honestly, I didn't stay long in there, but I watched it long enough to see who they were pulling out and chatting about. Too much time on their hands? Well, maybe, I guess. I guess that's really true. Um, what about Sebastian, right? What about him? Because I was just thinking when you said that, well, I'm retired, I have time on my hands, right? But I spend my time looking for content, trying to figure out what I'm going to talk about and the content for my morning show, right? And for other videos that I'm going to do in between there, and, planning my days ahead. So I feel like I don't have a whole lot of time. But I guess if you don't have to worry about what you're going to use for content because you saved everything from a chat and you can just talk about that, or you can just get on and complain about whoever for the day. I guess they do have too much time on their hands in that respect, right? There you go, Ginger. There you go. You have to have Brenda Joe go check on you. Yeah, could be. Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. But, when I first started watching this video by Jen, I was like, where are you going with this? You tell me you really don't believe that he walked out the door. But she doesn't, right? She hasn't ruled it out completely. I think I pretty much have, because there's no scent. There's no possible way that he wasn't seen somewhere. The only way there is if there is a video and law enforcement hasn't shown it to us. Could that be possible? Yeah, I guess that could be possible. But I think it's a very long shot, right? Trying to look at the abduction by a stranger, I don't see it. And the reason that I don't see it is because he was so sheltered. He didn't go outside. He went to school and home, chores, homework, talked to dad, and then played in his room until bedtime, as far as I can tell from his mother. Right? So they said he didn't have any friends. Okay. And that his internet was locked down. So if we're going to take them at their word, well, then who could have even thought about abducting him? And who could have gotten him to come outside without Katie seeing? Because nobody would have gotten inside, right? I mean, so that just doesn't pan out to me. The third one is where I think it lies, but I'm torn between something accidental happening at home, but I do feel he was carried out of the house. I just don't know. anything after that, right? Because we don't have anything, guys. Right? We have grainy pictures that people are saying is him and whomever, right? I've had grainy pictures, guys, for months. You can ask Brenda Joe. You can ask Ginger. I've had grainy pictures for months. I've chosen not to show them. I've chosen not to show them because I will only show or talk about things that seem logical and seem factual. So, Kara Hill, this is Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. He went missing when he was 15. He's now 16. He went missing February 25th in Sumner County from his Hendersonville, Tennessee home on Stafford Court. There has been no sightings of Sebastian since he went missing. There is a $250,000 reward for Sebastian. If anybody knows where he is or has direct links to where he might be or who might have him, then they can contact 833-TELL-DOG, 1-800-TBI-FIND, or the Sumner County Sheriff's Department. Probably in that order that I said it. But that is who Sebastian Rogers is. And we're glad to have you here. I'm just surprised you're asking me that question. Anyone that's come in has known who Sebastian is, right? So yeah, the third possibility, in my opinion, and I guess in all of yours, is the one that we're stuck on. Some of us believe that, and some of us believe that he was taken by somebody associated with the home. And either way, it was family involved, right? Some believe that it could have been accidental. Some believe that it was planned. And so accidental, we could look at the fact that he had chromosome deletion syndrome, where if he hit his head, he could literally die, right? That could be accidental. Or somebody hit him and he hit his head. I mean, whatever, something like that. Trip and fall, something, right? Anything. And then, as far as the planning, you got the 26th date. That's a scenario that's trying to be pushed, even though, as far as we can tell, Sebastian was last seen on February 25th at the Texas Roadhouse, right? And but the 26 narrative is trying to be pushed, right? So why? And we do know that the 26th was the same day that Katie filed the divorce papers on Seth. So is the 26th something in her head? she had this big, huge day with Sebastian and made it huge. Fun fact, spaghetti pancakes. Google it, guys, right? I still can't get over that one, but okay. So, and then she took him to BJ's. He had a glass of popcorn. They came home, put away their groceries, put away his snacks, and then went to the bowling alley. She likes to say bowling alley. And they played some games there, and then they went to Texas Roadhouse to eat, and then they went home, and he played in his room until 9:00 when she told him to go to bed. So was that day planned? Was that her last day with Sebastian? Was that day planned? Because we know he wasn't there the next morning. We know at 3:00, around 3:10, something like that, there were flashlights out in the common area behind his house, and there was a car there. And then the one flashlight ran back towards Sebastian's house at a quicker pace. So that's what we know. What would be the motive? Right? Well, they didn't want him. Jen Coffindaffer even said that. Chris wanted custody of his daughter. He didn't want Sebastian anywhere around his daughter. We all know the reason for that. I'm not going to go over it. And then we also know that they were trying to get Sebastian out of the house before that. They were trying to put him in a home. Thank goodness Seth kept saying no. Because some of those places, those kids have died, right? So that's a motive. Did Katie not want Sebastian to have, or Seth to have Sebastian? That could be a motive. You know, and there is no motive, means, or opportunity on Seth's side. Despite what people were saying in Jennifer's chat. Hey guys, that's a question I wanted to ask you. What do you guys know? I'm assuming it's sarcastic. I'm assuming. Because it seems negative or demeaning towards Seth. But this Rogers homestead of family values, what do you guys know about that? Yes, they did. Does anybody know what that's all about? I'm curious because I've seen it now a couple of times and I've wondered. To me, it seemed like it's sarcastic. But if I'm wrong, tell me. You don't know anything about it, K9? It must have been said on one of those channels. It's a nonprofit set up by Seth. Really? I never heard of it either. Well, Ginger, share. Share. You don't know what it involves. Okay, guys, I will do some researching tonight and I'll let you know. I'll let you know. Interesting, huh? Well, goodness. which that's awesome. The Petitos did that, right? They've always got stuff going on, golf outings and all kinds of things for the Gabby Petito Foundation. It's an incredible, incredible foundation. I have a hoodie from it. I have a hoodie from it. All right. Well, I'm going to end with our grannyism today. So we were talking about possibilities, right? When you have exhausted all possibilities, remember this: you haven't. And that was by Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb. So think about that, guys. That's frustrating, right? When you've exhausted all possibilities, remember this: you haven't. Do we have more possibilities in this case, guys? Oh, I know. And Jen just ignores him and goes with her own take on it. I loved what she did there. It was funny. Yeah, where did you see it, Ginger? Was it on a show or something? I'm going to look up something real quick because K9, did you say that Seth was going to be on tonight, or you thought he was going to be on for Nancy Grace? Oh, gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, kind of curious as to, wonder if he's got a website or anything yet. It'll be interesting to find out, won't it? All right. Well, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, share if you can. Trying to grow our channel here, and it's been difficult, I guess, because I don't know what time of day is best to try to reach other people, but I'm good with what we have here. Oh, it was set up when he was married to KP. Gotcha. Okay. So Seth's not going to be on tonight. All right. Okay. Well, guys, I hope you have a great evening. And we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at granniescrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.